Welcome in, everybody. Joe Quills here with you on this Wednesday night, and we are live here on the Joe Quills Show. Do apologize for cutting out and cutting back in, so especially those that were watching on X, I apologize. Um, Had a little glitch there. For some reason, I was streaming everywhere else, but not to my Twitch, and my Twitch account is where I want to stream to the most. So now, for whatever reason, it just wasn't working, and I do apologize. But we're back up and running here, and that thing happens from time to time. But we are live here on this Tuesday night. Um, my internet has also been acting up tonight for all day for whatever reason. Um, so I don't know what's going on. Maybe I just need to reboot my internet later tonight after the show. But we're here and we've got a lot to talk about here. Not going to be a long show, I don't think, but there we go. We do have the scroll there, and I've been forgetting to start the scroll on there some nights. Um, so tonight we'll get into a little bit of conspiracy theory stuff here. Um, we'll talk about I'll talk about the Phillies, even though I wasn't completely watching the game, all three games, because I was streaming Monday and Tuesday night, and I was working today. Um, and I also found out there may be some issues in the clubhouse. Now, when we get to that, I will warn you ahead of time. It's just rumor. So, um, whether it's the case that something is going on, who knows? But we'll discuss that, and we'll talk about a major change to the Rose Bowl coming up this upcoming season as well. But um, but I did see today, um, as we start the show here, and I don't really have a real preamble tonight. That's how worn out I am today. But um, I was looking on Facebook earlier today, and I noticed that um, Steve McMichael went into hospice care. That usually is the last step before somebody passes away. Now, I don't know when the um, I don't know when that Facebook post was posted. Um, I'm still getting stuff on my algorithm, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook from April Fool's Day. So I have to look and see I have to look and see, well, when is this from? Because you hear something goofy, and you know, but but unfortunately, Steve McMichael, Mongo McMichael, passed away today at the age of 67 from ALS. Um, yeah, but um, he did get his one last wish before he passed away, and that was to make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Him and his wife his wife was pushing hard for him to get into the Hall of Fame. He gets in there, um, but unfortunately, he passes away today. And he was a stalwart member of the famed 46 defense, especially when Buddy Ryan was there. Um, he ranked second in franchise history at 92 and a half sacks. Um, he was diagnosed with ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, in 2021. Um, he played one season for the Patriots. I didn't realize that. Um, we'll talk about some of that as well. And he played one season at the end of his career with Green Bay, and then in between was the 13 years he played with the Bears. He played in a team record 191 consecutive games, and he played 207 games overall between 1981 and 1994. Um, he won the Super Bowl with the Bears in '85 and was twice selected first team All Pro and Pro Bowl. He had at least 7 sacks in 7 straight seasons from 83 to 89. That's second among Bears players next to Richard Dent's 10-year streak. So um, he was a force to be reckoned with on the field. And, you know, but they have, uh, but unfortunately, he did pass away today. Um, his publicist, Betty Shepard, said, "It's with deep sadness I can confirm that my good friend and client Steve McMichael passed away. Uh, there, there, there will never be a stronger fighter we will ever know. He was also the sweetest guy I've ever known." So, I mean, you saw the football player Steve McMichael. You saw the professional wrestler Steve McMichael, but you didn't see the side that his publicist, his family, and everybody else saw. Um, Now, he was officially enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame in August of 2023, some 344 miles away um, from where he passed away. Uh, um, he was surrounded by his wife, daughters, and members of the famed 1985 defense. Mickey, welcome in. Hope you're doing well out there. Um, his bust was unveiled inside of his home in Homer Glen, Illinois. He laid in his bed in his gold jacket while his sister Kathy delivered the defensive tackle's enshrinement speech in a pre-recorded video. Um, yeah, and the thing is, you know, Lou Gehrig's disease is such a horrible thing. I mean, it's probably right up there with cancer. Um, I know there's a baseball. I don't know if she's a writer. I don't know what her actual thing. I think she's a writer, researcher, all that stuff. Her name's Sarah Langs. Way too young and has ALS. So, um, and just unfortunate everything that's going on with everything um, with her and McMichael and anybody else who has ALS. I think that punt returner, that special teams guy from the New Orleans Saints, he has it too. So, um, but I don't think. I mean, I think we can say that in the two football players, head injuries may have accelerated ALS. Um, but obviously, Sarah Lang's probably not have much in the way of athletic ability or anything like that, and she probably did. But I'm just saying, not to the extent that McMichael and this New Orleans Saints player whose name escapes me. Um, but I mean, this is sad. What happened? Sad everything that occurred to McMichael over the 5-year period, and probably had it even before he was diagnosed in 2021. Um, Celebrating with his enshrinement were teammates Richard Dent, Ron Rivera, Mike Singletary, Jimbo Covert, Gary Fensick, Jim Osborne, and Marcus Keys. Um, Dent said, "Steve, we're here with you with your world champion brothers. Back in Canton, we have 378 brothers that are looking for you. You're on a team that you can never be cut from. You never can be released from. When you die on this team, you will still be on it." So, I mean, that's true because he's always going to be a Hall of Famer, even though he did pass away today. McMichael's message was, "I do not want ALS to be my legacy. What I did on the field, that's my legacy, pushing myself to the limit farther than anybody else could." And the thing is, if ALS did accelerate everything, and it probably did, you know, um, he had two occupations, that did not help the brain issues that he had. You know, he probably has CT as well. We may know that in about a year or two when if they donate his brain. Um, but being a football player, he's getting hit in the head all the time. And also back in his day in the 80s and 90s, we didn't know what a concussion was. It's like, oh, I got my bell rung. Yeah, you had a concussion. That's what it was. And, it's like, oh, how many fingers do I have up? Two. Okay, go back in. How many fingers do I have up? One. Okay, you're back in. So, um, yeah, right. Great statement by Mike here. Michael is a character on the team of characters. Rest in power, Mongo. Um, um, Now, Mongo had been nominated in 2014 and 2015 for the Pro Football Hall of Fame and made it past the first round out of past the first cut of candidates twice before coming up short for selection. But he was ultimately selected by the senior committee because there's like a couple of different committees that picks those uh, Hall of Famers. Um, McMichael's wife Misty actively campaigned for her husband's enshrinement as his battle with ALS wore on and took away his ability to move or speak, which left him bedridden during the last years of his life. Now, here's something interesting that he was still able to do. Um, he had signed a "Do Not Resuscitate" form in 2023 before his condition began to worsen. Upon learning he was one of the senior semifinalists for the 2023 induction, um, or was it 24? He informed his wife he wanted to rip up the DNR and continue his fight against ALS as he awaited word on his selection. So he wanted to be in that Hall of Fame, and he survived. He suffered with ALS for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Um, um, just trying to see here. And I do apologize because I know this is great podcasting, by the way. Um, let's see. So he was transferred to hospice care earlier today and then died. So, um, but he was a. I mean, he did get into the Hall of Fame in 2020. He was the class of 2024. Um, so last year he was inducted. He was in the last class. Um, Mickey, that's the guy from New Orleans. I can't remember his name. Um, Saints, ALS. Steve Gleason, that's who it is. Um, he was diagnosed with ALS in 2011, and he's been living with it for 14 years. Um, Now, this is according to the New Orleans Saints website um, on the Google AI overview. He was told to expect a 2 to 3 year life expectancy upon diagnosis, but he's defied the odds according to the New Orleans Saints. So Steve Gleason is the guy that is in the wheelchair. That's the guy I was saying from New Orleans. I just couldn't think of the name off the top of my head. Um, um, his publicist said, I'm proud of all we accomplished together, especially the National Football Pro Football Hall of Fame. It was the last thing he could say to me before he lost his ability to speak. I asked him what else I could do for him, and he whispered, Hall of Fame. Thanks to the fans, we did it, and he loved you endlessly. Now, he was drafted by the Patriots in the third round in 1980. Um, just trying to see how he ended up in New England. Uh, okay, the Patriots cut him before his second season, and then the Bears signed him as a free agent, and the rest is history. Um, so he was drafted by the Patriots, third round of the 1980 draft. He played at Texas. He's a Houston native who was a unanimous first team All America selection for a notoriously stingy defense and leftist Longhorns all time leader in career tackles with 369 and 30 sacks. Um, he received recruiting letters for football from about 75 schools. Um, who knows how many that would be today with 140 D1 schools and all that? Probably all 140. Um, Bear Bryant tried to recruit him. He wanted to use him as a tight end. Darrell Royal, who was coach at Texas at the time, recruited him as a defensive end. Um, Now, Mongo was in the College Football Hall of Fame from 2010. After football, he had a career resurgence as a professional wrestler with WCW, but he originally was in WWF at the time. He was in Lawrence Taylor's corner at WrestleMania. He started WCW as a commentator later that year in 95. He began his in ring career in 1996, feuding with Ric Flair over then wife Deborah McMichael, then a wrestling valet. He remained with the company through 1999. So, and I'm sure if you go on the Peacock, when you um, go through all the library of everything that they have in terms of wrestling, you can go in there and you can probably watch a few of those matches that he was in because he was even part of the Four Horsemen. Um, um, so uh, so he wrestled only 4 years from 96 to 99. He returned in 2008 um, in Total Nonstop Action Wrestling or TNA Wrestling for the pay-per-view Bound for Glory, where he refereed a Monsters Ball match, whatever that is. The match was notable for McMichael's extremely slow cadence for a 3 count. Um, so he did have some. Oh, there is one thing here. Uh, there is one thing he is known for in the baseball world. Um, and this is on YouTube. So this is from WGN News in Chicago. Uh, yeah, he wasn't in there long. He was in there from 96 to 99. Um, that was back when I used to watch wrestling. But it was so hard to watch because Monday night WCW Monday Nitro and Monday Night Raw were both at the same time. They purposely did that. But here's a video that they had here of Steve McMichael, and um, he uh, he actually had some words for a certain umpire, some infamous umpire, which is why we're going to show this video here. So here we go.
Otha Mongo was top of mind for many Bears fans this weekend after a trip to the ICU as he continues to battle ALS. But the news keeps getting better in this latest health episode for Steve McMichael. And on Monday, there was this update as the former Bears defensive tackle continues to improve, with the expectation he'll be released from the ICU and return home in the coming days. This comes on the 22nd anniversary of one of McMichael's most memorable moments in Chicago. And it didn't happen at Soldier Field, but rather Wrigley Field. This WGN TBT goes back to August 7th, 2001, which you saw during the 7th inning stretch right here on Channel 9.
Mongo's home, Chicago! And don't worry, I'll have some speaks for that home plate umpire after the game.
That came before Steve sang
Yup, that's our boy, Angel Hernandez. He sucked back in 2001, and he still sucked until he finally got shit canned last year.
"Take Me Out to the Ball Game" during a game against the Rockies at the friendly confines, calling out home plate umpire Angel Hernandez for what was a miscalled home plate in the 6th inning. Ron Coomer was ruled out instead of safe, so Mongo let him have it, and Hernandez was not very happy about it, staring at the booth at McMichael for calling him out. Now, contrary to popular belief, Hernandez did not eject McMichael. Instead, crew chief Randy Marsh talked with security. Now, McMichael would later exit the booth and saw the Cubs beat the Rockies in quite bizarre fashion. Now, here's what happened. Ricky Gutierrez rounds third after a Joe Girardi hit, falls down, has to go back to third base, and this kind of messes up all the base runners, but Joe Girardi goes back and forth between second and first, and he would eventually force a throw back to first, where the Rockies would tag him. But Gutierrez comes home, scores the winning run as the Cubs take it 5-4 to increase their lead in the NL Central to 2.5 games. You can see more on this McMichael moment in the story below or WGNTV.com. For WGN TBT, I'm Larry Hawley, WGN News Now.
There we go. So, that's the other way you'll know Steve Mongo McMichael was from that "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," where I think they still do that in Chicago, but since they have the video boards there in Chicago, um, you may see, you may even see on Friday, maybe in Mongo's memory, if he did another "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," maybe they have him on tape singing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." Because I know a lot of the Cubs fans, even though they like um, the celebrity "Take Me Out to the Ball Game" stuff, a lot of them do want a cop. They just want to see Harry Carey singing it, and I think they did that a couple of times. So I don't know if they reverted back to Harry or they just reverted when somebody can't make it, or but we'll find out this weekend because the Phillies are in Chicago. I doubt that any of the Phillies staff will be doing "Take Me Out to the Ball Game," but if they do, they'll definitely show it. I don't know. Maybe they show John Kruk because he's on the trip, I think. Because I know he was in New York, but will he be in Chicago? You find out on Friday. But um, but um, but Mongo did remain a presence with in the city of Chicago even after he retired from football. Um, Now here's a little something about him. His parents separated when he was 2. His mother, Betty, married an oil company executive named E.V. McMichael, and the younger McMichael considered him dad and took his last name. Uh, and sir, welcome in. And where's that cheesesteak place? So McMichael went on to letter in football, basketball, baseball, track, tennis, and golf as a senior. Merchantville, not the Merchant of Venice. Um, so McMichael played 6 sports as a senior. I mean, where he had time, I don't know. Um, but McMichael preferred baseball, but his parents wanted him to go to college. The Reds and Cardinals showed interest in McMichael, but McMichael um, ended up going to Texas, played college ball, and then went to the NFL, and the rest is history. But McMichael passed away at the age of 67. But yeah, I've heard of Merchantville, New Jersey, but and the weird thing is, I think it was um, just because of the um, would I consider becoming the new pope? No, I like tacos. I like tacos, and I like them over the age of 18 too. And oh, no, it's in my pocket. No wonder. And if I'm reported, so be it. It's not the first time. So, um, but we're going to go off script here a little bit because I have nothing printed up for this. Um, Phillies lost again tonight, or this afternoon, I should say. They lost in extra innings, 4-3. Unfortunately, eh, I'm like a bad case of herpes. I always return. But Phillies lost. Um, no, if there's one person that needs to go to prison for life, it's Jordan Romano. It has to be Jordan Romano. So, so, but hey, this is my show. This is my show, and I will do what I want. But anyways, um, but I just think a lot of things besides the bullpen being total shit, and trying to see if I can pull up the stats here for the Phillies here. Um, I saw a crazy stat here that Dave Dombrowski has brought in like 7 or 8 relievers off of free agency, and the only one that hit was um, Matt Strom, aka Nick Wright Jr. Um, let me see here. Pitchers. Um, Let me find this here. Pitching stats. There we go. Um, and I'm just pulling up the stats here so I can share here. MLB year to date player pool. It's not going to let me break down into relievers. Oh, here it is. Okay, so here's your relievers right now. Yeah, I know, really. After a hard day work, we have Joey Poon 69 telling us what to do. It is what it is. So here's everything that's going on with the bullpen. So there's all the stats. Uh, oh, I'm sure I'll lose many others while I stream as well. So, but sorry about that. But anyway, so here's the stats as of right now, and these are the relievers. Um, and basically, you have a big dumpster fire after Alvarado and Strom. Tanner Banks 3.38, but he's not pitching in high leverage situations that much. But Orion Kirkring 6.48, Jordan Romano, aka Corky Romano 13.50. His ERA actually went down today, I think. That's how pathetic he's been this year. Joe Ross 5.68. Carlos Hernandez, who the Phillies got in um, on the waiver wire right at the start of the season, 7.88. Jose Ruiz, 6.75. So you do have all this crap going on. And you know what? It's starting to look like 2021, 2022. Um, but um, yes, I do. Um, but you still have about 5 months left in the season that these stats can go down. But the thing is, Jordan Romano says he's fine. Orion Kirkring, I don't know what to think of him. Joe Ross has been pitching like the Washington Nationals Joe Ross and not the Milwaukee Joe Ross. Jose Ruiz, I don't know. But, other than Strom and Alvarado, nobody's been reliable so far. And when you got a lead like that, you're going to have this bullshit happen. So I don't know I don't know what the solution is right now. I don't think they're not going to just get rid of I mean, you might have to start looking at um, player options and stuff like that. Like, for example, Jose Alvarado, he's probably in the league long enough where he can refuse um, any minor league options, even though he wouldn't be sent down. Matt Strom, obviously, he's probably in the same boat, but Hernandez is probably out of options because he was released by Kansas City. Joe Ross probably has enough time where he would, Jordan Romano, he's Mr. DFA this year. He's probably out of options, and he's been in the league long enough where he can refuse. So you got a whole bunch of guys here that can refuse, but sometimes you just You just got to realize it's just the first month of the season, but you're playing the New York Mets here, and the Mets right now, they're just they're ahead by 5 games because the Phillies have lost four in a row now. The Braves got off to an 0-7 start, and I am on record from the start of the year when they start off 0-7. I even said it to a Braves fan that I talked to that I did not write off the Braves at 0-7. I said to him even this past Sunday when he was streaming, I said, I'm not writing off the Braves because of the fact there's 150 some games back. They're getting players back. They're going to be tough, and they're going to get back into this race. But uh, but you do have a you know the schedule. The schedule last year at the beginning of the season was Charmin soft. I mean, once you had a week where you had Colorado and the Chicago White Sox. They won all 6 games, and that got the momentum going. And you had more soft teams and blah blah blah. But right now, you got some tough games coming up. You got to play the Cubs this weekend. The Cubs, they are leading the National League Central by half a game at 15-10. Um, I mean, over the next couple of weeks, the Phillies play Washington at home. So that would be a good series to see if they can get back on track. Arizona's always funny. Then you go to Tampa Bay, and you're playing at Steinbrenner Fields. That should be an adventure. And then you got to go to Cleveland. So there's a lot of the schedule's a lot tougher in the first half this year. It's just the way things are, and just like the NFL, I don't I don't buy into, oh, they got a tough schedule next year. They got so many playoff teams and blah blah blah. Well, you get a couple of guys injured, and all of a sudden that tough game turns into a much easier game, or they're mailing it in at the end of the year because they just want to get to the offseason. Now, with the Phillies, maybe things turn up, things get back into order here, or maybe they don't. And the reason why I say that is I saw this a day or two ago on Instagram. Now, what they do, um, especially with Beasley Media, they're I think they're all on the same floor of the building at Tubala Plaza. So you have 1029 MGK, you have 97.5 The Fanatic, Ben FM 95.7, and you got WMMR, you got XTU, WXCU. So a lot of times you'll have like Matt Cord going on to the morning show on MMR, going to the afternoon show because the Sixers are playing or something, or um, or in this case Tyrone Johnson, he once in a while shows up at Preston and Steve events, but this time he was at he was on WXTU, and I don't know who this person is that he's talking to on here. I didn't find the full um, the full video on YouTube, but I'm going to let you guys let you listen to this, even though it's just a snippet, and we'll get your opinions on this. So let's go over here, and I'm going to share my screen again. There we go, and boom.
What is the conspiracy as to why they're both struggling?
The conspiracy is that Alec Boehm and Brandon Marsh had a major falling out and that they're no longer friends, and it's affecting how they play baseball.
Yeah, see, so let's look at that on two sides because there's two levels to this. Number one is the conspiracy that they've had the falling out. And then number two, that it would somehow affect your performance if you have a falling out with one person at work. All right? Here's my issue with both. Both parts. Why do you think they stopped being friends? Let's start with there. Like, why do you believe? Because it's fact that they are not playing well. But why, Nicole, do you believe? What have you seen body language wise? What have you seen to lead you to believe that they've had a bit of a falling out? And is that falling out partially related in your mind, not mine, in your mind, to the fact that this happens sometimes? You have two single fellas. They're rolling around in the streets. They're hanging out. One of them gets a girlfriend and the other one feels left behind. Is that the reason they stopped being friends? Why do you think they're no longer friends?
So let's go back to the last couple seasons. Now, obviously, we know that they were roommates.
What?
Okay, and that's why I say I wish I saw the whole YouTube video here, but somewhere along the way, there, and the thing is, if there's a falling out, well, apparently Alec Boehm is back on track because he has a 10-game hitting streak now. Brandon Marsh, he's injured right now. And before Alec Boehm got into the 10-game hitting streak, I was joking around and saying, quoting Mickey from Rocky, saying, women weaken knees. So, I was thinking, all right, well, maybe it's the girlfriend, Aaron Dolan. Maybe she struck a divide in them. Who knows? Probably said, hey, that guy that looks like Forrest Gump, he's got to go, or something like that. And I don't know what their living situation is, Dolan and Alec Bowman, nor do I care. But I think over the last couple of years, you had a real close team. Could this be something that put a rift in the team? Maybe. But I'm not going to rule. I'm not going to rule out anything. But sometimes getting away from all the real life drama, let's just call it that. Once you step on the playing field, even though you're both on the same field, well, not right now because Marsh has an injured hamstring. You do what you have to do. So something, is it possible this is the case? Yeah. But I think, especially over the last couple of months, Aaron Dolan has been more overt with her relationship with Alec Boehm. Now, like, for example, last summer when this started the leak that the two of them were dating, and I said, well, a random post of her standing in the concourse of the third base side of Citizens Bank Park doesn't mean jack shit. Now, being on the third base side, 2 rows from the field, with him standing there waving or something like that, yeah, well, that's something obvious. But, with something like that, just being on the third base side, sometimes it's coincidence and sometimes you put 2 and 2 together and you get 4 and sometimes you get 5, but you just need to realize that, let them make it official themselves, just, because sometimes you put two and two together, you get 22, and you're way off. But um, now, could this be it? Maybe. You know, did Brandon Marsh get too much hair gel? Did he steal Alec Boehm's hair gel or whatever crap that he uses? Who knows? But whatever happened, happened. You still got a contract. You still got to play. Maybe this is something to do with somebody having to, like Alec Boehm being trade rumors in the offseason. I don't know. But all I know is when things aren't going well, shit like this comes up. Now, this is a country music station, and I don't know if this was just something. Um, I don't know if this was something that came up on. Um, I'm trying to see. See, because it says here it's on YouTube. I just don't know whose new YouTube it is. So, whoever it is, so be it.
What is the conspiracy?
But I just don't know whose YouTube it is. So, because I'd like to explore this a little further, but somewhere along the way, something happened. Something happened along the way. And, and the thing is, not all teammates have to get along. You just got to respect yourselves on the field. But Brandon Marsh does have problems with left-handed hitters, and he did well in the Florida Grapefruit League, but that's spring training. You know, once opening day started, things are so much different, and it's just going to happen that way. But yeah, I mean, and also, um, uh, Rob Thompson better be fired after this 15-game losing streak. Now I know what he's trying to say, but I will say this: you give me Rob Thompson and you give me Charlie Manuel, I'll take Rob Thompson all 7 days of the week. That's what I'll say. But I don't think that you know I don't think Charlie Manuel was that great of a manager. They say, "Oh, we see that you want a ring," but what happened if the Phillies end up winning 20 World Series before that World Series? Would Charlie Manuel be a great manager? Probably not. But but um, but obviously there's something going on here, and you know, maybe it's the whole girlfriend thing. Who knows? Maybe Brandon Marsh tried to make a play for her and got shot down. And oh, by the way, it's your old roommate that won her. That may be what happened. Who knows? But whatever happened, happened. So be it. Um, if you have to move somebody, then you're gonna have to move somebody. But you got 3 months to the trade deadline, and players have to be held accountable. I agree. And Dave Dombrowski has to be held accountable too, because there was a post, and um, me see here. No, I didn't share it. Or was it on X? Oh, you know what it is? I know where it is. I know where it is. No, it's not there. Shit. Alrighty then. But they mentioned 8 different relievers that Dave Dombrowski has brought in. Other than Matt Strom, everybody's bombed out here in terms of free agents. So I don't think you can necessarily. I mean, but the thing is, relievers are a crapshoot unless it's a superstar closer. But the Phillies could have had Jeff Hoffman return, but he chose to go to Toronto. And I don't blame him because he got to be the closer in Toronto. And the way the Phillies use their use their bullpen, having a bullpen by committee is not going to work. Now I understand. Okay, well we'll just go with the numbers here. Well, we have two left-handed hitters coming up. We're going to throw in Alvarado. Then one day you're throwing in Romano, who stinks to high heaven this year. Then you bring in Strom, you bring in this guy, you bring in that guy. You drop the ball in the bullpen. Now, granted, your roster is so loaded right now with Castellanos, with Bank Boy, welcome in. You have Castellanos, you have Harper, Turner, Schwarber, Nola, who's 0-5. You got to give him blame on some of this as well. Wheeler, who didn't pitch that bad today, but gave up a 2-run homer. You got to realize that little by little, everyone's to blame. It goes all the way to the owner wanting his fucking trophy back, all the way down to even the bat boy and every person in between. But I'm sure everything will be fine. At least we think it's fine. And if it's not, then you could move some players around and maybe get some salary relief, get some prospects. But, we're only 25 games into the year. Got 137 games left. But we'll see what happens with that. So, but there appears to be some issues in the Phillies clubhouse. Whether there is or not, I don't know. But so yeah, most of the times when Wheeler gives up 2 or less runs, he wins. Yeah. I was hoping the Phillies were going to get 2 runs in the 10th inning because I put in 2 wagers this afternoon. I had a single game parlay. I only did 3 players, but it came out today. Matter of fact, I had it by the top of the second. I had over half a hit, so basically 1 or more hits from Bryce Harper, Juan Soto, and Alec Bohm. Top of the first base hit, bottom of the first base hit, top of the second base hit. Easiest $32 I made. Then I had the Phillies and Mets over 7.5 runs. So it was 2-2 going into the 10th. I'm thinking, all right, well, if the Phillies get 2 here, then the Mets are probably going to score 3 and win 5-4, and I'll cover. Or maybe somebody will hit a home run when it was 3-2, and they lose 5-3, and I win. Well, it ended up 4-3, and I lose by half a run. So, but Mike doesn't even have hair, people. No, I'm kidding. But the 10th inning made me pull my hair. I'm going bald. I'm already bald. See, uh, but but I think with yesterday, with Christopher Sanchez being pulled after 2 innings because of a forearm strain and everything else, it's probably the reason why some people probably weren't available tonight or this afternoon. So reset, go to Chicago tomorrow. So one last thing here. Now, if you ever wondered, all we needed was one hit. I know. So if you ever wondered why not the Pro Bowl, why the Rose Bowl always started at 5 o'clock, well, the reason why they did that is they wanted the sun to set around the time the end of the third quarter came around. So that's why you had a 5 o'clock Eastern time start, 2 o'clock on the West Coast. Well, the college football playoff is changing things up now. So no longer are we going to have that 5 o'clock start. It's going to be now at 4 o'clock. So the Rose Bowl game is going to start an hour earlier than its traditional window and kick off at 4 p.m. Eastern as part of a New Year's Day tripleheader of college football playoff quarterfinals on ESPN. The college football playoff and ESPN announced today. Actually, they announced it yesterday. The rest of the New Year's Day quarterfinals will be the Orange Bowl at noon, which will be a shock to the system as well because the Orange Bowl is usually a night game, and the All-State Sugar Bowl. So the Orange Bowl will be at noon. The Sugar Bowl will be at 8. And they will also start earlier than usual. The Pasadena Tournament of Roses is confident that the 1 hour time shift to the traditional kickoff time of the Rose Bowl presented by Prudential will help improve the overall timing of the playoff games on January 1st, according to David Eads, the CEO of the Tournament of Roses. A mid-afternoon game has always been important to the tradition of the granddaddy of them all, but this small timing adjustments will not impact the Rose Bowl game experience for our participants or attendees. Over the past 5 years, the Rose Bowl game has run long on several occasions, resulting in a delayed start for the following bowl game. And ultimately, it was important for us to be good partners with ESPN and College Football Playoff and remain flexible for the betterment of college football in the postseason. More like, I'm guessing what may have happened was adjust your start time or we're not going to have you in the playoff. I mean, I doubt that's the case, but it's what I'm thinking. Now, the Goodyear Cotton Bowl, which is a quarterfinal game this year, will be played at 7:30 Eastern Time on New Year's Eve. The Verbo Fiesta Bowl and the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl will be semifinals. The Fiesta Bowl will be on January 8th, a Thursday, and the Peach Bowl will be on Friday the 9th. And both those games will be at 7:30. And the national championship game this year is in Miami. It'll be the second straight season that the game will return to the city for a second time. Atlanta hosted the title games in 2018 and 2025. So I don't know how you feel about that, but a small-time streamer and podcaster like me, I have zero influence on that, but it does seem a little weird. Like for example, my horse rating articles, even though my horse didn't win today, yesterday I think it was. Horse I like was 10-1 morning line. I think it went off at like 3-1. First click, so it was like 8-5. I'm like, what the hell? And then on Saturday, or was it Sunday? I was looking at, it was Saturday because we were looking at Oakland. The horse I like was 15-1. First click, early on in the wagering, it was 1-5. I know that. Well, I at least know the horse on Saturday was not because of me, because the horse that ran in that race is owned by this group called myracehorse.com, and it's a micro share where you buy like 1% of the horse, if that. And like you're buying a piece of the anus, and you do have you own like a little piece, and you get like a piece of the money back, something like that. But if you have a male horse, if they're still owning the horse when he gets retired to stud, you get stud fees, money, all that stuff. So, but um, but that did but that some things do act a little weird, and once again, TV takes over tradition, and the Rose Bowl will be earlier. So, and I did mention as well, um, horse racing, also eligible on Saturday. Still don't know what I'm doing. Um, I'm leaning towards Churchill Downs opening night, but I'm waiting to see what's going to be offered on Saturday for the races, the free race of the day there. So we'll figure that out. But Saturday morning, 10 a.m. on the Bleacher Brothers channels. Uh, there you go. And I'll figure out what races we'll look at and everything. And we have a Bane Invader came in here. Hold on. I have the windows open, so if you heard that, I apologize. So yeah, um, so that'll be Saturday, and that will be at 10 a.m. And I will be starting vacation, and I'll be starting vacation after that, and I will be on the Bleacher Brothers show next week, as we get ready for the Kentucky Derby as well. So, so that is going to be it with this show here tonight. What I am going to do. I have to do it this way. And Mike had tacos today. So what I'm going to do is we are going to raid Action Labs. They are sidecasting some hockey action, yo. They're talking sports and also going through Avalanche and Stars. So give them a follow as well if you haven't followed them yet. And we will get everything started there. So we're going to rate them. And this is why, if you're watching, thank you, Bank Boy. I do appreciate that. So I appreciate everybody that was here, including my two trolls. I think I know who they are, but I don't know. But anyway, so we're gonna raid Action Labs here, and give them some love as we get through the go through the night here. So do appreciate everybody for joining me, and those that were watching on X and on YouTube, thank you as well for joining me. Mickey was there as well. Thank you, Mickey. And if you're on Twitch, you'd be going to Action Labs right now. So So that's it for now. Thank you all for joining me tonight, and I'll see you guys in the winner's circle. Have a great night, everybody.